Just a little bit about what we are and what we're doing. I think that thing that was said earlier on this morning, the furthest behind being first and leaving no one behind, really touches us here. We're involved with a project in Malawi which deals with a group of marginalized people with albinism, who are much more numerous than they are in here in Ireland. So we set up this program to educate people with albinism and their communities, to look at their skin, to diagnose skin cancer and to treat it. We've been in operation now as a pilot project for the last 2 years. Education is really, really important, and this is a slide of our education which precedes every clinical clinic, all right? We register the patients, then there's a consultation which follows a very rigid protocol. We then see lots of skin trouble, cheilitis, actinic keratosis, we see neglected skin cancer, we see terminal skin cancer. We treat with cryotherapy, and we take people to theatre at the end of the clinical week, and we train and work with the clinical officers there. They're very good at caesarean sections and laparotomies, but they often have not got the skills to do small, intricate skin surgery. The clinic days finish with a distribution of sunscreen and further education around clothing. These are two of our favourite attendees. They've come to every clinic now, and they are beautifully dressed, unlike some of their others. So that's application of sunscreen. So how did the idea come? Well, I was there on the sabbatical, saw a lot of people with albinism there. Came back, talked to a dermatologist. He was the only dermatologist in Malawi at the time, but now there are 3 of them for 17 million people. So the 2 of us got together, Edenpark Surgery and Queen's Dermatology Department, but we then realised that we had a bit of a mountain to climb and we couldn't do it on our own. So Carol did some research and found a charity in England called Standing Voice, and we decided we'd better partner them. Now, then, we thought, okay, we don't really know what's happening on the ground in Malawi, so we got hold of the Association of People with Albinism in Malawi and their inspirational top man, Boniface. So that was how our partnership started to develop. We then, together, decided, we needed to have, where do we start? A biggish country, but Mangochi was a town we were familiar with, big city, catchment area of 600,000 people, so that's where we started. So we met the DHO there and his team, and we were really really welcomed there, and have had a very, very good association with them over the years. But that wasn't enough. Capacity, 3 dermatologists. There's about 25 dermatology officers who've received some training in dermatology, but the capacity for dermatology in the country is very poor. So we had to link with the other 2 dermatologists in the country, which we did recently, and try and encourage more dermatology officers from other regions to become involved in our project. A recent addition has been the Dermatology Association of Malawi, which was got its charter recently, and so we've now linked with them, again, to try and get more people in the net. It goes on, and this year we were very lucky to leave the first area, Mangochi, in the hands of our Malawian partners and move to an adjacent area. Again, we were guided to this area by the Association of People with Albinism, who thought this was an area of special need. So we've just actually come back from that area now. We have 400 people now in the project. So you can see partnership isn't a static thing, it's a dynamic process. I don't know what the next block of the pyramid is. We heard about the 3-legged stool. I mean, our pyramid is now broadly based, and I think that's really, really important because people come and go. But if you can have a broad base, then hopefully things will be sustainable, and that's really our aim. So size matters. Where do you start is always a problem. You know, it's 17 million people. And I think the beauty of our project is it is small. It's defined, and we started in one area. We have been able to move to another area, but I think we need to define our objectives carefully, so break it down into small bits and get going. Good partnerships are the key. We've talked a lot about them, but they are crucial. Communication is crucial. We've mentioned Zoom and WhatsApp, and it really is important that you communicate with people. The problem is misunderstandings happen, and with the best will in the world, and then you have to go back and talk to people again. So accept that misunderstandings are going to happen and you will get things wrong. Individuals, partnerships and groups are made up of individuals, and this is often, you have to identify the key people in organizations and work with them and nurture them, and really relationship building is very important. Sitting in offices, having meetings with the flag behind you and stuff like that, there is important. You have to recognize that prestige and culture and status and respect are really important things. This time tribal leaders came into the mix because we didn't really understand perhaps fully how important they were, and a group of patients who were ready to come to our clinics didn't come because the right noises hadn't been made to the chief. Working with NGOs is very important for people in Malawi, and those individuals are being pulled in lots of different directions. We need to recognise that, and we've only recognised that recently. And some of the big NGOs have got loads of money and loads of prestige and can take people on foreign trips where we can't, and so some of our collaborators are not always available, and we have to accept that. Paying per diems hurts us as a small organisation, but it's how people live in Malawi, all right? Organizational structures, we thought, okay, we're going to empower APAM, the local association, to run the clinics, to process the data, to do all these sort of things, and to be our people on the ground. But we didn't factor in that their IT skills were poor, that their vision was poor, and so we had to retrench, and we had to go back, and we had to talk, and we had to educate, and so we just have to, be aware of what's going on and, try and solve the problems as you go along. Time in Africa. When we were there for 6 months, we got used to the pace of life and the pace of change, the way of doing things. When we fly in for our 2 weeks twice a year, it's very important that we get back into that mindset quickly, because otherwise you really annoy people by saying this must be done today, this must be done immediately. Time at home is very important, and this is very great work, and we get enthusiastic, and but we have to realise that we also have day jobs, and we need to try and find time to do this in the busy work that we do. Logistics, well, the troubles of working in Africa. Funding, we thank ESTHER and for their funding, but a bit like the three-legged stool, you need more than one source of funding, and that's really important. Mentoring, we're here to learn from each other, and I think going forward that's really, really important that we learn from each other. There's a huge amount, the wealth of experience here, so we need to use the experience. Safety, I've just put that up there because of something we talked about in terms of insurance, which I won't go into. Next steps, we need to build capacity within the country. We need to build the capacity clinically, but we also needed to build it in technology. These are some other things that we need to do. Someone mentioned data earlier, and we have a lot of data. We need to publish it to make ourselves more widely known. Don't be afraid to change and adapt the program. It's not set in stone. And we do it because we love it, and you need to enjoy it. Thank you very much.